Now, you may be thinking that Asians are so great and awesome. Maybe you've been told, or it just seems that the stereotype is that Asians can do everything. They're smart, they're intelligent, and so forth. But I'm going to share with you the top 10 things that the Asian American culture makes seem really awesome. But in reality, they're not effective things in terms of true success after comparing those things with how the most successful people in the world think. So let's get started. Let's start with number one. First thing, and let's start with some of the best. The first thing is this whole stigma, and I hear it all the time, of thinking they're a failure or thinking that being a failure or failing is bad. And this is something I heard a lot when I was growing up. And occasionally I still hear it from Asian people, and it's not a good thing. In fact, some of the most successful people, they celebrate failure. Their parents celebrated failure with them, and because of that, they were able to fail and make mistakes time and time again until they achieved incredible success because they weren't scared of failing. You know, so many people don't do anything because they're scared of failing. And a great example is the billionaire Sarah Blakely, who was told by her parents every day at dinner, "What'd you fail at?" And then when she would say, they would celebrate. And there's countless other millionaires and entrepreneurs who say similar stuff. But let's not make this a list of sources. Number two, the second thing is that Asian people, let's just be frank, this is a huge stereotype. Asian people, oftentimes by their parents, are influenced in some way to pursue a career that they might not want. Doctor and lawyer. Now, this isn't all Asian parents, but almost a large percentage of them have some type of influence on this. And stereotypes are there for a reason. So let's be frank. I hear this all the time. I see it all the time. And some people, they actually love being a doctor and being a lawyer. Others, not so much. Others they just couldn't. They weren't smart enough. I don't think this is the best parenting approach. And despite how much Asians are hyped up, it's not the best thing in the world because, well, quite frankly, if you hate your life, then you hate your life. If you hate your job, that's not a good thing. If you don't really want to help people, that's going to reflect out in what you do. If you don't like your job, that's going to reflect out on your performance and so forth. Think of the basketball player who doesn't like basketball but was pressured to be a basketball player. If you look at any of the top people in any field, Michael Jordan, Eminem, the rapper, President Obama, whoever it is, they had a deep passion for what they did. So I think that's a critical component to high levels of success. I think you can hit moderate levels if you convince yourself or force yourself to do something you hate. But in the long run, I don't think you can, you won't be happy even if in the eyes of your parents or society, it's amazing. Number three, and as I say these things, again, it's not like I'm disparaging Asians. There's a ton of good things about Asian parenting as well, but that's for another video. The third thing is that for Asians, they oftentimes are, they don't have a huge influence on physical activity. So is this really a bad thing? Not really, because it's kind of like a double-edged sword. They do that because they want you to focus on what they think will bring greatest success in your long term, which is, your academics. Now, having said that, though, even with this one, it's just like, well, kind of, there's still a lot of Asians who are very physical. They love sports. A lot of them may do sports. So it's not a complete stereotype. And at this point, I'm just trying my best with these. Number four. Fourth thing is Asians have to start, they have to start doing all this stuff, and they are not oftentimes rewarded positively by their parents. Sometimes they are. Again, we're just doing general rules of thumb. Um, Sometimes they are not exactly rewarded the best that they can. So positive reinforcement, I think, is an incredible thing. If you get straight A's, your parents should praise you and say, awesome, great job, because that makes them want to work harder. Sometimes, not all the time, parents of Asian people will be like, okay. They won't even acknowledge it, but they will really go down on the negative reinforcement. Not always, but that's number 4. Number 5, negative reinforcement. So again, some levels of negative reinforcement are good, but there's been studies that show that you're better off using positive reinforcement because of a lot of the negative effects of negative reinforcement. Whether it's beating your child, verbally abusing them, those things can leave marks psychologically for the rest of their lives. Number 6, Asians oftentimes put on too much for their child. And if they don't meet that, they express extreme disappointment. I've seen this scar people for a long time, and it's not the best thing in the world. Because guess what? First off, you're scarring the kid and you're making them think that they're a disappointment. Like literally, that's what happens. I've seen it. They feel like they're a disappointment. And the parents make it very clear that they're disappointed that you didn't get into this college or this school and so forth. And after studying a lot of successful people of all cultures, I've realized that a lot of them, they didn't get good grades. They didn't go to a fancy school. Some of them did, but a lot of them didn't. Now, obviously, it increases your chances if you do sometimes, but not always. And to just give up on that person after that, or just express so much negative disappointment, that's going to scar them. Like if you give them that positive reinforcement and say, you can still do it. There's so many successful people who have come before you who didn't have this and didn't have that. You can still succeed. That will do so much for them. And I think the real reason is because guess what? Asian parents, they're not really like me. I'm kind of strange. I don't think I know anyone who has studied thousands of successful people, and I'm just constantly amazed at how different they are from others folk. Now, obviously, a lot of successful, wealthy individuals come out of Ivy League schools, but is that always the case? No. A lot of people coming out of Ivy Leagues, they get normal jobs that are kind of esteemed, but I mean, the big game changers, some of them, they didn't even graduate high school. Bill Bartman is a billionaire, didn't graduate high school. He was a complete flop, and stories like that happen all the time. So, number 8, and again, this is just for Asian American parents, because I think as far as just Asian parents in Asia, they're different completely. I think the ones who immigrate, I think it's just a cultural shift thing. So I think it's something to keep in mind. Number 8. I'm starting to run out of ideas, but okay, number 8. They're very good at setting a strict regimen of doing things. So basically, sometimes that's not always the best way of doing it. Flexibility in terms of what your child can do is important. Like it or not, a lot of them, believe it or not, they all have played one instrument: violin, piano, viola, and they've all gone to this thing. They all go to extracurricular activities and so forth. Number 9. Okay, I'm starting to get into the sense that I kind of have to compliment them too, because there are certain things that they do well. So this is a compliment and a bit of it's a double-edged sword. Number 9. They have a tough work ethic and they instill that in their child. I think that's great. That's very great, and I think it's one of the reasons why they come out ahead in terms of test taking and academics and all sorts of other stuff compared to other people. It's the work ethic that's instilled in them, and this is something it's tough to do, but for whatever reason this culture is very good at doing for many different Asian ethnicities: Chinese,